Now study tips and advice on how to use the lecture videos for remote learning. My first advice is to prepare a nice study environment where you can watch the lecture videos without being interrupted. The things to look after are: first, a suitable and comfortable sitting position with the chair adjusted to the correct height of your legs. Second, a large desk to make all your materials and study tools visible and easily accessible to you. Third, a printed copy of the lecture notes. Fourth, a reliable laptop or tablet with a quick and stable internet connection, such as that of the university. Fifth, a bottle of water to drink when you feel thirsty or to wake you up when you are sleepy. Sixth, a quiet space free from distraction with your mobile phone away from you. And lastly, avoid sitting near someone who looks as handsome as those gentlemen if you are a lady, or who looks as beautiful as this cutie if you are a guy. Otherwise, you won't be able to focus on what you are doing and would be busy peeking over your book. My second advice is to understand the nature of the tasks to be accomplished by using the lecture video as a learning tool. In other words, why are you watching the lecture recordings now? For example, if you are dealing with a subject only taught online, then the only means of learning the subject would be to use the provided online lecture videos. Similarly, if you miss some explanation during the lecture because of fatigue, or if you experience some technical issues that interrupt your live Zoom lectures, then you will have to use the lecture capture system to review what the lecturer said and to fill in the gaps inside the lecture notes. Lastly, you could also watch all the lecture recordings to revise the entire subject to become exam ready. Therefore, there exist different reasons for using the lecture videos, depending on which you might seek to invest more time on watching the recording. For example, if it's your first point of contact with a new chapter, then it's recommended that you watch the video at a normal speed. However, if you are using the lecture recordings as a revision tool, then it's recommended to increase the playback speed of the lecture video to save time. My third advice is to analyze and assess the content of the lecture video, especially if the topic taught is new to you. It's a preparatory work to help you size up your opponent, which is indicative of the level of difficulty and complexity of the chapters being taught. You should try to determine whether the lecture content is about fundamentals or is it advanced. Depending on the level of difficulty, you will need to watch the video as many times as required until you fully understand what has been explained. My fourth advice is to know when to pause the lecture video to review the materials covered. Basically, lecturers tend to have many sections or subtopics in their slides and might not pause their speech or give any clear indication when they are switching to or beginning a new section. If you try to watch a 1-hour lecture video in one go, you won't be able to properly focus on each section, thereby making your learning less effective. Hence, use a table of content at the beginning of each lecture slides, if available, to know which section will be covered in the video. Once the lecturer is done with this section, pause the video and review what he or she has explained. And if the online platform supports it, you could also bookmark the lecture video at a specific time that you wish to review later. As conclusions, there are many channels that you could use to learn a subject. For example, experiencing a face-to-face teaching and learning experience in lectures and tutorials. However, you must be aware of the learning style that you will be adopting if you use only the pre-recorded lecture videos as the only channel to learn the subject. The learning process for using a recorded lecture video can be described as a one-way street where the direction of information flow is only from the video content to the audience, who has no authority of questioning the validity of the information being passed on. In other words, it is not interactive and encourages the students to become passive learners. As always, to keep your mind focused on the activity of watching the lecture recordings, just say to yourself, I must understand the purpose of using the lecture video. As summary, lecture videos can be used to learn a chapter for the first time, catching up on what you have missed during a lecture, or simply reinforcing what you have already learned. As advice, we discuss the different techniques of building a proper study space, and the importance of knowing the job to be done when you use a lecture recording, analyzing and assessing the lecture video content, and knowing when to pause the video. As mantra, you should say to yourself, I must understand the purpose of using the lecture video. That was all for study tips and advice on how to use the lecture videos for personal learning. Thank you for your attention and see you in the next video.